In my opinion, the response was empty words, and worse yet, empty words that continue to lead to empty mailboxes. I appreciate the ranking member's previous line of questioning to the witnesses when he asked each one of them if in fact they thought that Mr. Dejoy's intent was to slow down the delivery of mail prior to the election. And I would say to the gentleman and remind myself that unless one is a heart surgeon or a brain surgeon, that it is almost impossible for a third-party witness to accurately determine what a person's intent is in their heart or in their brain. But Madam Chair, when we take that question and turn it around and ask instead about what was the effect, perhaps the better questions to the witnesses would have been, did Mr. Dejoy's actions have the effect of slowing down the mail? The disassembling of sorting machines, the removal of mailboxes from communities, and the denial of many overtime requests, did they have the effect of slowing down the mail? And I would dare venture to say that most, if not all, would say yes, that is the effect, and that was the effect. My office, like many of yours, receives a daily significant number of complaints from constituents who've gone days, some weeks, without receiving their mail and receiving it on time. In Baltimore City, Baltimore County, and Howard County, Maryland, that has been the case now for months. It is very difficult, and I don't want this lost. I know we're talking about trying to find a way to create and craft new legislation, but I don't want it lost on the fact that there are a lot of people who have suffered and had to pay extra money, late fees for bills that were not late, but rather delivered late. And there were the many of those who missed out on their medication schedules because their medications were not on time. These delays have had harmful impacts on the lives of our constituents, and yet they continue to worsen. And so, like my colleagues, I'm grateful that the chairwoman has decided to hold this hearing, because now we will have the opportunity to construct and review legislative proposals to place the Postal Service on a sustainable footing. But let's not rewrite history. The good was, what happened between then and now was that we had a free and fair election in which we owe a debt of gratitude to postal workers all over this country who, against great odds, delivered the mail as essential workers on time. They delivered ballots on time. The bad news is that we are still left with the effects of the cuts, not the intent, the effects. So the Postal Service's financial condition, as we all know, has deteriorated over the years due to a number of factors. We don't need to get into finger pointing. I do believe that these proposed legislative opportunities can reinstate service standards and implement the kind of protections for postal workers if we can get away from casting aspersions in the very first hearing that has been set up to find a way out of this problem. So on that, Madam Chairman, I would yield back. Mr. Dejoy, thank you for coming back again. I would ask, though, before I yield back my time, can you tell us when your strategic plan will be revealed? And will you commit here today, if it's the pleasure of the chair, to come back before this committee to explain it in detail and to receive the critique and the questions and perhaps the support even of members of this committee?
Sir, I think we, probably within the next 2 weeks, we should be ready with our plan. And I'm always happy to come before this committee and explain it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I yield back.